In this video, I'm going to go over what Path of Exile 2 is now that I'm almost done with my first campaign run, but not done playing the game, that's for sure. So you can gauge as to whether or not this game is for you. So this video is sponsored by Path of Exile 2, but this was an easy yes for me. Anyone who's been watching my live streams would know that I'm absolutely loving this game. This might be the coolest system I've ever seen in an ARPG. This is really fun. So first up, a quick introduction. Path of Exile 2 is a next generation free-to-play action RPG created by Grinding Gear Games. It just launched into early access, but for this phase you do need to purchase an early access key if you want to participate. I'll leave a link below in the description. The lowest price supporter pack key is currently $30, which does actually include 300 points to spend in game. When the game reaches its full release, which I believe is estimated to take between 6 and 12 months from now, it will be free to play. This game supports up to 6-player co-op. It offers shared screen couch co-op, and there's cross-play between PC, Steam, PS5, and Xbox, and cross progression. But what do you do in this game? A very important question. I like to describe these types of ARPGs as dungeon crawlers. You play through a campaign. In this case, you're journeying across the dark fantasy continent of Rayclass. And this campaign has a main story, and it sets you out clearing locations and dungeons of crazy, creepy, very evil creatures of all kinds. Along the way, you'll be getting all sorts of loot. You'll be powering up your character through several character progression systems. And when you finish the campaign, you can then jump into the endgame systems, which offer all sorts of content to continue your character's growth, or you can start another character. But before you do anything, you of course have to choose your character's class, but take a quick look at my level 42 Gemleen Legionnaire Mercenary right here. Pretty awesome. But let's go ahead and create a new character. And in early access, you can currently choose between 6 classes, each of which has 2 ascendancies each, and ascendancies are basically like your subclass choice. We currently have access to the sorcerer, the warrior, the ranger, the witch, the mercenary, and the monk. But by the time 1.0 comes around, full release, there's going to be 12 classes in total, each with 3 ascendancies, which makes 36 ascendancies in total, which is crazy awesome. Now, the really cool thing here is that you can build your character in a variety of different ways in this game, as your class choice is not tied to the weapons that you use, nor is it tied to the skills that you'll have access to. What your class choice does determine, though, are the ascendancies that are available to you, so your subclass choices, and also where you start on this gigantic, beautiful passive skill tree. So I chose the mercenary, so I start right here on the tree, and the ranger starts right here, the warrior over here, etc. Don't get too overwhelmed, because you can keep this fairly simple. Let's say you're playing as a ranger. You can kind of stay in the ranger's cut of the pie right here if you want, and you'll be perfectly fine. But you can also just zigzag around and try some really cool stuff and do like some hybrid type builds. To make it a little bit easier to navigate too, GGG has included a search bar over here. And let's say that I'm playing as the mercenary, which I am, and I'm really liking my grenade skills. If I type in grenade in the search bar, you'll notice that all of the grenade skills, passive skills, start to pulse and glow. So that can kind of give me an idea as to where I might want to start moving to on the passive skill tree. Moving on from classes, Path of Exile 2 is launched into early access with 3 campaign acts, which are estimated to take between 25 and 40 hours for your average player. I think it's going to take me right around 35 to complete all 3 acts. Now, by the time the game releases into 1.0, there's going to be 6 acts in total. There's just so much content in this game, and each act offers a diverse set of different biomes, a huge variety of different creatures and bosses, one of this game's strengths for sure, and of course, each act and map progresses the story. Now, there is an intro cinematic and also cutscenes in between acts, but much of the story is going to be told through the NPCs that you can speak with. In each of the acts, you'll find there is like a main camp-like location, which is kind of like your central hub. I'm currently in Act 1 as I don't want to really spoil anything, but in this location, you'll find vendors, you'll find your stash where you can store gear, you're going to find your crafting stations, you'll eventually get access to the salvage bench, and you can disenchant items when you talk to a character named Una. And this is basically where you're going to go, you know, after you clear out a map or do a quest, to come back, get yourself situated, turn in quests, and really just kind of work on powering up your character and looking at your skill trees and all that good stuff. Now, from your camp, you'll typically head out to a location on the map, usually related to a particular quest if you're working on the campaign. And then when you get to that particular location, you're going to want to clear out as much of the map as possible, because all the opponents that you kill, you get more XP, you get better chances of getting better loot. Got a bunch of skeletons right here. And actually, when you clear out entire maps, when you take your time to explore everything, you're going to find that there are plenty of dungeons within these maps and also entrances to other locations that you haven't discovered yet. For example, in the cemetery, I now have access to this mausoleum dungeon. And a lot of these maps do end in boss fights, and boss fights in this game are pretty crazy, and they also offer much better chances of better loot. The bosses in this game are a highlight of the game, in my opinion. I don't want to show you guys too much, so I'm only showing like a few of the early Act 1 bosses. You can see the Rotten Druid right here, but there is such a cool variety of bosses in this game, and many of them offer quite the challenge. Part of this game, part of the enjoyment of this game is overcoming some of these challenges that the bosses put forward to you. If you find yourself encountering a boss that feels like it's way too hard, it might be time for a gear check. Perhaps you need to upgrade a few items or maybe change a few things up. For example, when I encountered the final Act 2 boss, I was barely doing any damage to the boss. I was like, what the heck's going on? So what I did was I went back to camp, upgraded a few of my gear items, and then I came into my passive tree and I unspec'd or respec'd into some more offensive passive nodes that give me plus 10% increased projectile damage. And when I did that, I came back to the boss and I was doing way more damage and I killed it in one try. Very satisfying. Early access actually features 50 unique bosses, and there will be over 100 on the game's full release. One of my favorite aspects of this game is the combination of highly engaging gameplay, especially with the bosses, and also needing to watch your character's power level with your gear, your skills, and the passive tree. Now, outside of just gear, there's a few items that are very important that you'll be picking up as loot, and these are skill gems, support gems, and uncut gems. Now, skill gems are your skills in this game, and you're going to be basically finding gems that you can either invest into a skill gem, or you might find the skill gem itself. For example, this skill gem right here is called Galvanic Shards, and if I find this gem, I can then slot it into one of my gem slots, and now I have the Galvanic Shards skill. It's actually really, really good. Let's go ahead and test it out on a few of these skellies up here. Oh, it's so good. I have it leveled up pretty well, though. And also, you can take support gems that you unlock. For example, I have 2 support gems right here. And you can slot the support gems into gem slots related to that particular skill, as long as the requirements are met. For example, this support gem right here supports attacks, causing them to attack faster, so putting that on my Galvanic Shards makes it a bit quicker. And this one is the close combat, supports attacks, causing them to deal more damage to enemies based on how close they are to you. And because I tend to use this Galvanic Shards very close to enemies, I get right up in their face and just blast it. These are 2 very good skill gems to put on that particular skill. Believe it or not, there's 120 skill gems in this game right now in early access. And there's going to be over 240 by full release. And these skill gems, or these skills, are just an absolute blast to test out. You'll get into a rhythm of skills that you like. For example, if there was a mob of skeletons in here, what I do is I would come up, I would drop my ballista right here. It pulls aggro and kind of keeps everybody in the choke point here. Then I shoot up my Stormblast bolts. I back up, I throw down some grenades, which will detonate the Stormblast bolts. And then I switch to my Galvanic Shards, and I just start cleaning up the room. It is so satisfying. This is a much easier to understand skill gem system when compared to Path of Exile 1, and many of the frustrations of that previous skill system have been removed or improved without sacrificing depth. It's even possible to 6-link every skill your character uses. Now, aside from the main campaign, which is just a ton of content, you're also going to be doing Trials of Ascendancy. It's getting me pumped up just being in here right now. And these trials you have to complete in order to earn your subclass and also earn more points to spend in your subclass tree, which is in the center of the passive skill tree. These are a series of gauntlets that you're going to have to go through and try to survive. And if you can reach the end, you get a lot of loot and also some ascendancy points and really cool things. I don't want to spoil anything here, but there's a lot of cool systems behind the trials. And yeah, it's a nice thing to do outside of just doing the main campaign. We also can't forget Endgame, of course, new Endgame, which I have not yet got to myself, but early access features a huge Endgame system that includes 7 different types of Endgame in-game content, including a pinnacle boss. All of these systems offer many ways to continue to grow your character to then attempt to take on harder and harder challenges. When the game fully releases, endgame will include even more to do. And the last thing I want to touch on in this video is the fair to play, never pay to win cash shop. And yes, I was skeptical at first, but after playing this game for 30 plus hours, examining the cash shop, and also talking to several other ARPG, much more experienced ARPG players, this cash shop's got my thumbs up. The only things you can buy in it are cosmetics and also stash tabs to basically expand your storage and make your storage a little bit more organized. And the $30 that you spend for early access actually carries over to 300 points for the cash shop. So you pay $30, you're not just getting the game, you're also getting a bunch of points for the cash shop to where you can just get yourself some extra stash tabs. With that said, you don't need any of this to play the game. I'm serious, not at all, nor do I ever feel pressured to get any of this. And for such a high quality game that's going to be free to play on release, this cash shop's got my thumbs up. I like what they're doing here. So yeah, I'm absolutely having a blast with Path of Exile 2. I don't like to do sponsored reviews, which is why this is more of an overview video, but it's actually hard for me to contain my excitement and not want to share with you guys all the fun that I've been having with this game. If you would like to join early access, I'll have a link below in the video description. You can get a key for just $30. And the cool thing is, like I said, that includes 300 points that you can spend in game. So you can get yourself some of those stash tabs or cosmetics if you're into that. And there's also higher end supporter packs that you can choose from if you would like. And these include special character customizations such as pets, back attachments, hideout decorations, titles, and other special effects. Awesome game. Looking forward to continuing to be a part of early access. GGG is already showing that they are listening to player feedback, which is really cool. And of course, that 1.0 launch, when that comes, is going to be super hype. I'll catch you all on the next one.